As you know, the Cabinet Ministers have been meeting earlier on today in formal session in Kirkcaldy. This almost certainly isn't the first time the Scottish Cabinet has met in Fife. There are reliable accounts that no less a person than Robert the Bruce convened both a Parliament and a Cabinet in St Andrews. And I think we can say with absolute certainty that at some stage, 200 or 300 years before that Queen Margaret would have held court with her Council of Ministers during the time when Dunfermline was Scotland's capital city. And quite possibly the Stuart Kings would also have held court in Falkland Palace, which was one of their favourite haunts. So although in those days it wouldn't have been called the Cabinet, it was very much the predecessors of the team that we have here today. Those of us who worked so hard to re-establish and to reopen the Scottish Parliament always said that simply moving Westminster and Whitehall 400 miles north wasn't enough, that Scotland deserves something very different and very much better, that cabinets don't always have to meet in the parliamentary building, they don't always have to meet in the capital city. So the innovation that was started a few years ago when the Cabinet made the conscious choice to visit several different locations in Scotland during the year, to carry out formal Cabinet business, to carry out the business of government in our local communities, is something that I warmly applaud, and I'm delighted that they've been able to find time in this year's schedule to come here to the Kingdom of Fife and to the ancient borough of Kirkcaldy. The format today, very briefly, is after the introductions, the Deputy First Minister will address us and will then have the open question and answer session. Like the Cabinet Secretaries who are sitting here, I've got absolutely no idea what the questions are going to be. Unlike the Cabinet Secretaries, I don't have to worry because it's no me that's got to answer them this time. But I'm sure that we can look forward to a very active and very lively question and answer session. I'm now going to hand over to Michael Russell, Cabinet Secretary for Education. Michael is going to introduce our keynote speaker today, the Deputy First Minister.
Thank you for your warm welcome to Fife. I'm really delighted on behalf of my colleagues that we are here today. Later this afternoon we're going to have a question and answer session, and I'll introduce that when we come to it after the Deputy First Minister has spoken. But first of all, thank you to Fife Council who've helped our visit to Kirkcaldy, particularly to the staff here at the Adam Smith Theatre for their help and assistance. If any of you are here for the Ladyboys of Bangkok, it will become obvious that you have gone to the wrong show. Though they are apparently on later. Thank you for turning up in such numbers. I suspect this may turn out to be our largest attendance ever. The key to getting through it successfully is short questions and short answers. Those questions will go via the Deputy First Minister of Scotland, the Cabinet Secretary for Health and Wellbeing, Nicholas Sturgeon, MSP, who I'm delighted to welcome to the stage now.
Thank you very much indeed, Mike, for that introduction. We'll hear more from Mike later on as he takes us through the afternoon's proceedings. Can I also give my thanks to Peter Grant for his introduction. I've no idea, though, Peter, who told you that you weren't going to have to answer any questions this afternoon. You see, all of the Cabinet got together just beforehand and made a collective decision, and you know all good Cabinet decisions are collective decisions, and we decided that all of the difficult questions this afternoon are going to be about council services, so they'll be handed straight over to you as leader of the council. But seriously, can I thank you sincerely for the very warm welcome that you and your council colleagues have given us here in Fife today, and thank you for all the support you've shown us during our visit over the course of the day. But my biggest thanks today go to all of you for coming along here this afternoon in such fantastic numbers. I am told, and have no reason to believe that this is other than the case, that this is the biggest audience so far that we've had at our Cabinet summer meetings. I think previously Aberdeen held that title, so Kirkcaldy has knocked Aberdeen off of the top spot this afternoon, but it's fantastic that so many of you have made the effort to come along here today, because it's your active participation that will make this event the success that I certainly hope it will be. Each and every one of us here today has our own local roots in our own constituencies and regions, but as a government it is very important that we reach out across Scotland, and it is absolutely right that as many communities, as many organisations and as many individuals as possible have the chance to engage directly with us as a government. I've no doubt many of your questions this afternoon will be tough questions, but that's as it should be. You should have the opportunity to put us on the spot, and we should have the opportunity to hear directly the things that matter most to you.
Can the Minister tell me why, concerning private members' clubs, is not being enforced? Why this law has not been enforced? Most of these clubs are being run as glorified pubs, with the added advantage of not paying the same rates as public houses, no tax, and in some cases, no water rates. This allows these clubs to sell their drinks at a cheaper price than public houses. There is, in essence, completely ignoring the law, and they're getting away with doing so.
Thank you. Now I think that's quite clear, so let's move on to the next question.
Hi. Thank you for coming here. My name is Patricia Cleghorn, and I run a company called Orchid, and I think that would be my first question to you as to what more can you do? It is so difficult for these young people at the moment. Both, they need real jobs with real pay, not any of these mock schemes. The process of getting a job is appalling for them. Filling in application forms that can take hours, getting, a flashback, no thank you response in 2 minutes, applying to what seem like media centres for creative arts graduates turn out to be call centres, all sorts of difficulties. And once they're in work, I'm sorry to report, my research for my new book, my latest book, shows that there's a fair amount of bad treatment and bullying, and people are not speaking up about it through fear. They've got a hard-run job. So I would like many other questions, but that is something that is particularly concerned to me and my company at the moment, and it's nationwide.
Kenny, do you want to kick off?
But I can say I met with the Licensed Trade Association and indeed with the Beer and Pub Association last week, and they in fact raised the same point that you raised. As a government, we do accept that the Act that came in 2005 by our predecessors, we supported it, differentiates between those licensed premises run as clubs, nightclubs or whatever, and those that are run by organisations and more charitable bodies. They've given, as you correctly say, various opportunities 12 times a year, up to that if they so wish, or they can apply for extensions, and equally don't pay the same way. Our position is quite clear. It's difficult time for the licensed trade. We know how difficult it is. We're doing our best to try and support you through that. I do expect the law to be enforced. I've had a similar matter in my own constituency, where a particular organisation, which I won't name, wanted to run basically open itself up every Saturday or Sunday at Portobello High Street. Frankly, if that's what they want to do, then they should become a licensed premise and they should pay the same rates that the pubs do on Portobello High Street.
Firstly, in relation to equipping young people to enter the labour market, and I noticed that the programme you talked about was, which your own organisation run, is Move Forward with Confidence. And for some young people, a programme like that is going to be an absolute imperative before they can enter the labour market, purely and simply because they may have some challenges in their own backgrounds which mean that they need some additional support to enter the labour market. So, in amongst the range of interventions that we deliver, we have to make sure that whatever standpoint the young person is coming from, whatever their experience, we are supporting them to get into the labour market. And that will cover a range from employment skills training to university and college education. The second part of it is that we've got to create a vibrant economy, and we can't be insulated from the wider economic difficulties that are clearly affecting all of the international economy. But what we are seeing in Scotland is a modest period of growth. We've got a better employment position than the rest of the United Kingdom, a lower unemployment position than the rest of the United Kingdom. And what we're trying to do is to structure our investments in a way that we boost economic activity and boost economic confidence. So the Deputy First Minister's comments earlier on today about how we've brought forward capital investment, for example, or whether we have provided business incentives through the Small Business Bonus Scheme, or the work that we're doing to encourage more companies to export and to internationalise their business activities. These are all ways of generating new employment, and the government will continue to set out ways in which we can enhance those possibilities.
Does the panel support the decision, given the focus on youth training and employment, of Fife Council to terminate the employment of modern apprentice road workers?
Thank you. Gentleman there.
My question is, why do we not have independent advocacy for people in Fife with a mental health condition?
Why then is this small group of disabled people denied the right to free personal care in line with over 65s, especially when your government is so keen on universality of provision? And have you any plans to make the scheme more equitable?
So my question would be, why cannot a government, through its treasury, issue debt-free and interest-free money based upon the wealth, the common wealth of that country, worth billions if not trillions? Why do we ultimately go cap in hand to private and international banks who create money out of thin air, fiat currency, just numbers created on a computer screen, and then who charge exorbitant rates of interest on this nothingness, which is currently costing all taxpayers something like £125 million a day, or around 44 billion a year, just to meet the interest payments. All of this is distressing our economy and already weak and vulnerable in our society, and ultimately undermines all public services.
The Scottish Parliament, which spiralled out of control, and we've all had counselling over that. We're now looking at the tram crash in Edinburgh type of thing, and I do applaud you for holding back money until they get their act together. Can you ensure that the crossing will be delivered on budget, on time, with a professional team that can actually deliver what we're looking for?
Thank you. Gentleman there.
Completed early and below budget, and the M80 contract was completed on time and on budget by this government, but it managed to bang on all the time about the trams, a project this government does not control, or the Scottish Parliament building, which this government doesn't control. So there is an element of the debate which has got to waken up and look at what's actually happening as a consequence of firm and tough management of capital expenditure in this country, which is exactly why Edinburgh City Council got the warning they got this morning that we are not going to give them any more money for the trams until they come up with a credible proposition that can use public money a great deal more wisely than they proposed to use it last time. The fourth replacement crossing is a fixed price contract. That means it is a fixed price contract. In that respect, we will deliver the type of financial solution at a much lower rate than was previously budgeted for, because of the careful approach to procurement that this government has presided over, and I think that's something to be welcomed across the board in Scotland today.